Thank you. Senator Hickenlooper, I think we got you in under the clock. I know you have to preside at 11, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank all of you for being here today and your public service on these issues. Mr. Braille, ransomware attackers often attempt to shut down computer systems and steal confidential data that they can extort businesses or individuals, somehow basically stealing the data and trying to sell it. Keeping consumers' data secure, making sure that we don't collect excessive and unnecessary data, also helps reduce risks from financial fraud and scams while, again, protecting people's privacy. What proactive steps, Mr. Braille, can businesses take to protect their customers and employees' sensitive and personal data?
Senator, thank you for the question. I'm not an expert on what businesses themselves should do, specifically what tools they should implement, but I know that there are strategies that agencies like the Federal Trade Commission have and advice they provided to those businesses, and I think you alluded to a few of them. Number one, it's doing an inventory of what information you're actually collecting to find out then to find out, do you actually need that information to conduct the business? And if you don't need that information, can you minimize the amount of data that you're holding on to? If you're reducing the threat vector, the number of bases you have to cover, and to use a baseball term, it's easier to play defense against the cyber thieves. Then knowing how to get rid of that data securely, get rid of data that you're taking in as part of your business securely, and then finally having a recovery plan in place when all those other things you've done don't work, so that consumers at the end of the day can help to your customers can recover from that.
Sounds like sound principles to me. Mr. Reynolds, cyber attackers attempt to cause disruption in order to create urgency for victims to pay ransom. A quick recovery is in the interest of the business and the interest of its customers. Also reduces the leverage that attackers used to try and extort their victims. As we've seen in some notable cybersecurity incidents, it can take weeks or months for impacted organizations to fully recover. In addition to what, excuse me, in addition to what Mr. Braille was describing, can you describe what steps your member companies take to prepare and practice recovering from cyber attacks as part of their cyber resilience? So not necessarily the preparation, but the recovery.
Senator, thank you for that question. I think I'll start with our North Star, which is we always keep safety, security, and privacy of our customers at forefront. Our programs are risk-based threat informed. They have to evolve with the threat. Some of the things that we do in terms of coming up with ways in which we can improve are things like tabletop exercises, policies and programs and training. One example I might have is that although we do tabletop exercises and planning internal to each of our companies at the industry level, we also work with the federal government. So there's, in fact, this week at a conference, the Aviation Information Sharing and Analysis Center is conducting a global exercise where they bring in federal regulators and the airlines and airports to work through a very comprehensive exercise so that we can all learn. We can get a report from that. We can look at gaps and seams so we can all improve. We've done the same thing with the FAA recently. They have the Aviation Cyber Initiative that we participate. We took 6 months to actually build out a program with them and participate in an exercise with them. It's a comprehensive program, sir.
Great, appreciate that. Mr. Little, a very sobering event that you had to go through. Just so far, what lessons would you want to share with other airports in terms of things that could be useful, lessons learned?
Some lessons learned, as was just mentioned, for example, is to actually go through and do tabletop exercises. We were fortunate that we actually did a tabletop exercise which simulated a ransomware attack in the past. I can tell you, in reality, it's a whole lot more complicated, but it actually helped. Also, having continuity of operations, COOP plans in place. Every department at the port is required to have a COOP plan, and we had to activate those really fast. Also, to practice your NIMS, and activating incident command, emergency management policy rooms, practicing that over and over again, and then partnering with, of course, the federal agencies such as CISA, the TSA, and also outside subject matter experts, and conduct various different like ethical hacking. Do that on a regular basis to test
Right.
your environment.
Well, I'm out of time, but I do think at some point also it would be worth looking at, are you getting rid of data that is no longer necessary? In other words, you saving data and therefore making yourselves or your consumers a target.
Yeah, my recommendation, if you don't have to store sensitive data, don't, but if you have to, ensure that it's encrypted.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you. Senator Blackburn.